You go in your bed. Well, I think she's just gonna cry during this, and we're just gonna have to be like, that's just the sound of England tears.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. Coolio. Right, we are going to talk about cricket again, Jamie. Are you excited to talk about cricket again?
Yeah, sure. Well,
How much of this game did you watch?
um, not a lot, because again, I prefer to sleep.
True. Have you watched the highlights?
Yes,
Did you enjoy the highlights?
they're all right. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
weren't,
yeah.
they
Nice.
weren't like as overwhelmingly depressing as I thought they might.
No, no. I mean, that's my takeaway, and also welcome to Just Not Crick Pod. Um, that's my main takeaway of that last test is that I think England did very well, and it wasn't as kind of depressing as the previous one. But India were just better. So we're going to review that game. And hello to all our Indian listeners, as our viewership was much up on the last review. So welcome back. I'm sure you'll tune in again. So we're here to cry more about that England loss, and maybe delve in a bit more deeper. Um, but yeah, I guess we just touched on it then. I thought it wasn't too bad a showing. I mean, England were ahead for a lot of the game. Um, and then it was just kind of one, and like much of the series, it was one day where suddenly they weren't, and then they just I don't think they threw it away as much as they did in the last game. I think it was more to do with the skill of India. Um, especially Kuldeep and Ashwin on that day three. Um, but yeah, they were in a very strong position and then suddenly were very much not, is my takeaway.
Yeah, there was a couple of classic England pitfalls with like not bowling a tail out or
Yeah,
not
yeah, to the
being
extreme.
ruthless in a second batting inning. Like,
Yeah,
but like even
yeah,
then, they still clawed some sort of competitive
yeah,
edge back, and
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's the classic thing with this kind of England side, I would say. There's been, of course, as soon as England lost this series, and it is the first series that Baz and Stokes have lost, there's been the stupid calls of like, oh, stupid Bazball, or they like Jeffrey Boycott saying, oh, if they hadn't played Bazball, they would have won the Ashes in India. But I would also argue that if they didn't play in this certain way, they wouldn't get into these winning positions. Is my flip side. But I don't think they really Bazballed in this game, if you want to use that as the verb. I think they played very much as traditional cricket as this England team can.
Mhm.
Like Roots innings was very typical classic route because it was the kind of pitch where you could only really play that way. Like you look at the way Jarrell played as well. It wasn't a game where you could really get ahead of the game quickly. Um, so yeah, to say that it was Bazball that lost this game, I think is very much just eating into that Bazball verb nonsense. Is my takeaway.
It's very easy to like blame it on one specific like trendy Twitter
Yeah,
vibe word
yeah,
and get that like trending when
yeah,
like, the rest of the series England have played have been largely competitive and enjoyable, partly because of the brand of cricket they've been playing.
yeah, for sure.
But like sometimes they play shit and lose, and
Yeah,
like that's
yeah,
regardless of what style they play. Like before McCullum, they were playing boring cricket, shitly, and losing.
yeah,
I would prefer whatever cult this is
yeah.
to the weird, horrible reign of Silverwood again.
Exactly. Yeah, there's been the comparison to that, when England went to India last time and they lost that series 3-1. I think it was only four tests that time. And obviously it's 3-1 again. You know, there is the stupid argument from people saying, oh, what's the difference? I mean, difference this time is that England have been competitive in every single game. And they have pushed India. I know that India are without, many key players, but you just have to look at the way that Jurel has played, and Jarsawal and the way they've come in and just completely made their stamp on this team, to show you the depth of Indian cricket. And there's a reason why this is their 17th, I think their 17th Test series win at home, and they haven't lost at home in 12 years. So I mean, that's got to be up there of the best ever, really. So there's a reason they've not done that. So I think, the way that England have pushed back in every game, even the game where they lost by 400 odd runs, that they were in that game still, I think is, it still said 3-1, but I feel as though England, can't really look at it and be, we played badly. I think the way that they have fought back, even on this last day where they got India 5 down, it's about 120 for 5, and Bashir got 2 and 2, and it was like, oh, could they? So even right up until the end, it was very much like they're not always out of it. So I think they've been good. It's my world class analysis
Uh,
in times.
I like maybe not for the 400 loss. Like it feels like every
Yeah.
first innings there's a game on and it's fairly balanced and even, but
Hmm.
then we fall apart in the latter two in
Yeah.
one way or another, where it's the batting or just can't buy a wicket to
Yeah.
literally save our lives. But
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say this game was competitive, and even when England had like collapsed a bit, they
Hmm.
brought it back. But I think the previous two games were proper shit. And
The
you,
last one, especially,
yeah,
I mean,
like
you had those shining beacons of time when Duckett was smashing it all over the place, and it was like, this is amazing. This could lead something good, but then it just falls apart in 2 days. The previous game, chasing 400, is rarely going to happen. So to concede that kind of lead isn't great. Um, but again, that was the game. Or was it? I've lost track. Last game was when Ashwin went, but the game before you didn't have Jadeja in. So yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that.
and it's like another difference between the two teams is whenever India have those big scores, they've had two players getting hundreds or
Yeah.
close to. England haven't had two players getting close. We've had maybe one per game.
Yeah. At least.
I think this is the first game where like two or like a couple of players have supported the 100 maker with a couple of decent
Yeah.
scores, and it's only
Yeah.
150, and that's
Yeah.
from a bowler.
Yeah. 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 I
Like
mean,
Jai
yeah.
Spall's made two double hundreds, a couple of other regular hundreds. There's Rohit, Jadeja, um,
Safaraz, Jarrell.
yeah,
Yeah.
like they're just
Rahul got 17 first game. Yeah. Everyone's contributed really.
yeah. Shubman got a 90 one game, and
Gill, yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
he got like over 50 in the final innings
Crucial that. Yeah.
game. Yeah, so like whenever India have someone go big, someone else is
Hmm.
supporting them. Whereas
For
England
sure.
always seems to be like, what, it's just one person or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's games where the batting of this tour with the collapses in the epicness that they have come has very much brought back the fact that most of these batters are the batters of the Silverwood era. Um, and it's in a way it's a testament to what Stokes and McCullum have done, that they've really gone up a gear and developed in their game, because it's still Pope, it's still Bairstow, it's still Folkes, Stokes, Crawley. All of those were with Silverwood. It's not like they're suddenly different players they've called upon. Um, so they've been able to get the best of them, but then you're starting to see those kind of issues, like Pope played one of the best innings you've seen for an England player in India in the first game, but since then has looked back at that kind of old Pope self, and suddenly more questions come about. Is he a number 3? Is he good enough? Even though 3 games ago, 3 or 4 games ago, he played one of the innings which he'll maybe remembered for. Um, so yeah, it's that there is those runs missing, and well, I'll before we go on to the England issues, hooray. We'll do the positive sides of both teams. How does that sound? Nice positives.
Yeah, sure. I'm not in
Uh,
a state to argue.
it's the end of a working day for both of us, so we are sleepy. Um, so India, just to get that out of the way, good again. Jaiswal is just like turned into the new wall, I would say, for India, and looks to who's going to be set there for ages. Again, runs again in this game, brilliant to watch. Um, the fact he's always there all the time, as an England fan, not quite as brilliant, but still great. Jarrell, player of the match, quite rightly. Yeah, India were 177 for 7 in that first innings, and they were looking at a deficit of about 150, which, England would have then, most likely have won the game. But him and Kuldeep very much frustrated England. Even Akashdeep had 30 balls in for the tail, got that lead down to about 46, which, was game changing, obviously. And then obviously helped back with Shubman in that final innings with 39 not out as well. Had a great game. Problems for India when they've got all their players. It's so many players to choose from. What a sad state of affairs for India that they have to now try and get Rahul, Kohli, Pant back into the side. Such a shame. Um,
Wait, who does get back in from the like? Surely it's only Kohli because
Kohli,
he's
well,
like
there's
the
yeah,
Indian pariah of everything cricket. If that's
I
the right
know.
word, I don't know. I'm tired.
God of cricket.
Yeah,
Um, well, you
like you
got
can't
Rajat
really,
Patidar.
yeah, you can't really like drop Durrell after the
No,
series
and he's
had.
catched really well as well. He got a
Yeah,
great catch to get Anderson out in that second innings. The reaction time is amazing.
like you can't really drop Gill at the minute. You can't really drop Suffer.
No,
Like,
I mean, Safraz had a poorer game this time. It looked like England had kind of worked him out a bit, especially in that first innings. From the way he batted about a run of ball in the second or the third test, to getting only 14 or 53. I thought Stokes captained very well there to kind of frustrate him, to stop him get or like teasing him into those kind of like nudges and nurdles to get singles and stuff. And he just looked a completely different player in that odds, and obviously got a first baller in the second innings.
I
So
guess
I
it would
mean,
be Patidar
yeah,
would be the
Kohli for
obvious one for
Patidar.
Kohli,
Yeah,
but otherwise,
you've then there's one space between Rahul Pant when he's fit again, but I mean they won't rush Pant back after that injury. So between Rahul and Safaraz is quite a big call. I'm not really sure when India's next tests are because they've got about 6 months of the IPL coming up. So they've got plenty of time to make a decision. But woe is them. Um, and then bowling, they're great as always. Ashwin 551 in the second innings, and Kuldeep 4 for 22 was for me the main turning point. I know Ashwin got 5, and Ashwin bowls as well as he always does, but when Kuldeep was bowling, it just looked as though there's how does one bat? It was just like pitching outside leg and then missing off and stuff like that. It was like one kept low to Stokes, that kind of stuff. Ones were bouncing up, spinning all over the shop. And I just want to preface this now before any Indian fans give hate. I thought this pitch was great. I thought this is a great fun pitch to watch. It was like that first session when England lost 5 wickets before lunch and Stokes got a grubber. Everyone was sort of like, oh, this test is going to be over in 2 days. Um, but then it led to some really good cricket that if you batted really well, like Root did and Jarrell did, um, like Crawley did, um, there were runs out there, and there was times where it looked really flat. But then even on that last day where India were about 80 odd for none, and then suddenly England got 5 wickets in no time, it just offered so many kind of variables all the time. I thought it was the best pitch of the series, personally. But when someone like Cordy got it right on this pitch, it just looked, as Stokes said, as near to as impossible as you can really see. So um yeah, and then like we mentioned earlier, Gill got that crucial 50 at the end to win the game. So India, very good.
and
But
it wasn't
England
like
tried best.
there was nothing for the seam bowlers either because like Deep,
Mm-mm.
especially in that first innings, bowled
Yeah,
really well, was getting some good
yeah.
moves. Jimmy at
Jimmy
times,
Bolwell, yeah,
like Robinson,
yeah.
not to the same levels as those. Like Siraj was doing
Yeah, Siraj, was it
movement.
this game? There's so many games I've losing track. I think it was this game. Yeah, it was. Where Siraj was getting reverse swing on the end of the first day and managed to get Hartley with an absolute peach. Um,
Just like imagine if Bumrah was playing. Like
yeah,
he'd have been even
yeah.
more fucked. And
It's almost like India are the best team in the world or something. Um,
they've not won the World Cup, so they can't be.
well, it's true. Yeah, maybe they want to win a T20 one, but yeah, we'll see. Um, shall we talk about England?
Okay.
So positives, mentioned Root back to his kind of classical best. I mean, people were saying, "Oh, when's he going to do the reverse scoop as a lol?" And it's like, well, it's obviously not the pitch he's going to do it on. But he did say when he was on 96, the thought did cross his mind, which I think is just jesting. Um, Crawley. Sorry, go on. Were you going to add a point about
No,
Rude?
no,
Just
I just thought
giggling.
it was funny.
Yeah.
It just felt like the kind of it didn't seem like he was jesting. It seems like the sort of thing that
Well,
would
true.
actually
Yeah.
cross Root's mind and be like,
Yeah.
I really want to, but
To be fair, it would be a great thing after all the talk and all the chat, which is just inane, annoying nonsense. It would have been funny, um, especially if he'd got out. Um, Crawley got 42 and 60. I thought batted really well. And, this time last year, probably again, most of the years he plays, all the chat has been Crawley's not good enough, but that chat has very much been silenced recently. He just looks solid and assured at the top of the order, which makes a change.
like there's a player in there. It's just about getting it out
Unlocking it,
consistently.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he did well enough today. He showed his
Yeah.
depth over the last few days. Whatever. I'm tired.
Whenever it was
Yeah,
sleepy.
but like there was some really like classy shots from Crawley, and it's
Yeah, always.
like we were saying earlier, it wasn't Bazball. It was sort of just very classical, composed test match
Yeah.
shots. And
Yeah.
like there's a place for Bazball and there's a place for this. And
For sure, definitely. And yeah, this was very much that kind of traditional test match feel, and it shows what kind of players can adapt to that. And I think there are some players more than others. Um, Folks batted well in the first innings for his 47. Some vital runs for him. And I think the main talking point we'll jump to will be Bashir. Um, he got his first fifer, his first class fifer um, in cricket ever. Um, First fourfer in first class cricket as well. So yeah, now has more wickets for England than he does for Somerset. So he has 519 in that first innings, and then in the second innings, 3 for 79, and bowled really well, like as if he's a seasoned, experienced pro. I know the pitch offered a lot when you got it right, and I thought Hartley bowled well in points, but you could see the difference between Hartley and Bashir sometimes when Hartley would offer quite a lot of freebies, and Bashir was kind of always on it. Um, yeah, I thought he bowled really well. You did enjoy the Bashir hype?
I do. Like I don't want to hype him
Yeah.
up too much, like we did with
No.
Hartley. Like we need to just like
Yeah. Rain.
tone it down a bit. But I
Yeah.
think this Viper was probably better than Hartley's seven, even though Hartley's was
Yeah.
literally match winning.
Yeah.
Bashir is so accurate. He's got really good spin.
Yeah.
I think four of his five wickets were threatening the
Yeah.
wicket, like
Yeah.
three LBWs, one bowled or something like that.
Yeah. For sure.
Where like the Hartley seven, you can't take anything away from Hartley seven because it's
No way.
been
No.
fucking wickets, but
Yeah.
like, he had two caught at silly point and two sort of rush of blood advance tail enders for stumping.
Yeah.
So, but like every time Bashir took a wicket, at least in the first inning, like they were quality balls. There was a
Hmm.
couple in the second inning. That one was like a full toss, which Bairstow
Yeah.
caught really well.
Yeah.
So like otherwise, I put that five for ahead of Hartley seven.
Yeah. I mean, Hartley also had the scoreboard pressure as well. It's a completely different game situation. This was the innings after England got 350, you want to put scoreboard pressure on, and he'd got England to a position where India were 170 for seven. He was the spearhead of that. And I think he bowled 31 overs in a row or something like that. And I'm pretty sure he bowled from the end of the morning session right through. He bowled all the way through the afternoon session on day two, um, and not really giving anything away. I mean, that just shows you the trust that Stokes has in him, and how much he's just maturing and developing. It's good.
Uh, I don't know if good that he bowled so many overs in a row because we've
Do you
seen
not
him.
think? I mean, the
I
difference is that Mo hadn't bowled any overs.
no, I don't think it's good for the overall fitness of the player to be bowling so many in a row. Like it doesn't have the same like uh consequences as seam bowling would, like
No,
on the body. But I still think it takes a big toll. And I think that's a big
would do.
criticism of Stokes. Like he doesn't rotate his bowlers well enough. And especially a dude only playing his second test match. Like for as well as
Oh,
he's
it's
bowled, like
yeah,
you need to be rotating him a bit more. Like it's worked out this match because he got a fifer and then a threefer. But like you need to have another bowler you can go to that isn't someone who's playing their
Well, this
second
is the
test
problem with
match or
what
their
they had.
third or fourth test match. Like
Yeah.
you're saying yourself as captain that yeah, I can bowl now. You clearly fucking can't. Otherwise, you would have given yourself a couple of overs. I, I know. I
I
just
would say,
a young player should be managed better than.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I would say during that kind of afternoon session when he bowled all the way through, it would have been very difficult to take him off because he was just always just on it. If you had that kind of balanced attack like an India do, where you can easily turn to another experienced spinner in that situation, I'd get it. But obviously they hadn't picked Rayan for this game. Obviously he's gone home as well. And then you have the root stuff, which is okay, but it's not been great since that first test. Um, it's difficult. I don't. I get what you mean, but I feel as though in that situation, especially when the pitch is offering so much for spin, I would have done the same. So, um, but I get what you mean. I do get. I understand.
Oh, yeah, sure. Like,
But we can leave that on to negative stuff, which is nice.
yeah,
Um, uh, so Bashir good. I mean, McCollum's also said that there's also quite a big possibility that both Hartley and Bashir don't end up playing for their counties when the county season starts because Lancashire have Lion and Somerset will have Leach. So they're both unlikely to play two spinners. So suddenly you're going to have an instance where probably both England's frontline spinners for these last tests aren't going to play county cricket, which feels mad. Um, so Bashir's next first class game may be another England game. We shall see.
but
Silly.
it's even sillier considering like, would you not have Bashir over Leach for England now?
I know, yeah, exactly. I mean, I would have Hartley and Bashir over Leach at the moment. I mean, Leach is great and Leach offers, I think, would offer quite a lot from this series if he had been fit. But the constant fitness issues are a concern. He's going to have surgery, I think, now. And that's, his second or third injury, I believe, in the last year. Um, and then he also had that kind of concussion game in that New Zealand series a couple of years ago. So I just feel as though, are you going to want to look at someone you can invest a bit more time in and who's potentially going to be fitter? And, that's nothing against the skill of Leach, but I just feel as though maybe now's the time, as harsh as it is. Um, but we shall see. We shall see. Um, but negative stuff, which I enjoy. uh, what is going on with Ollie Robinson is my question. So Ollie Robinson comes back in for this game, which I think is a good selection, and on his day is good, and he gets a important. That was just my dog shaking. Um, gets a crucial 58 and batted really well in that first innings. I always give that, could have been crucial in terms of the game. That partnership with Root, massive. But then bowling, he bowled 13 overs in the first innings, none for 54, going at 4 and over. And then I can't really offer too much what he did with the bat in the second inning because everyone just fell apart and then didn't bowl in the second innings. But when he did bowl, I think his fastest ball was maybe 75 miles an hour. And he's not played since the third Ashes test. So he's had a lot of time off and then he's coming back and it feels as though he's not quite at the right fitness. And it just feels a bit odd. I mean, he also missed a very crucial chance as well. I'd say drop it. I mean, it is a drop. I think it was Durrell when he was on about maybe 60 or something, and then probably the deficit would have been about 90 instead. He dropped the catch at mid wicket. Um, just feels like there's a bit going on, and I'm not really sure what that is. Um, but he didn't bowl super well in the um Ashes really after the kind of Khawaja incident, and then coming back for this game, um, all a bit odd. What do you think about that?
I don't know, honestly. Like
That's the main talk.
like maybe it's like when he first comes into the team, he's got a lot of motivation and everything. He's got that. like fire to prove himself, and that just like pushes him more. Then he had the sort of incident with the historical tweets and
Yeah.
all of that. So maybe that had a toll on him mentally, as it should do.
Then yeah, I hope so.
Um, I don't know. Like maybe he's one of those English bowlers that doesn't perform as well overseas,
Maybe.
but like
Yeah, potentially.
it's something that we can't know,
No, this is
isn't
true.
it?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to guess at what it could be. Maybe
No,
it's
yeah.
had a bit of an off tour all game.
Maybe. Yeah. I
But
think the
like you
main
said, he did really well with the bat and helped
yeah, which is good.
complemented Root's innings really well.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Uh,
think that yeah, I think I think the main concern feeling is that, he's had a lot of time off to get over an injury. He should be back at full fitness, and so he's back at full fitness. And then the fastest he can get to is 75 miles an hour, which is only about 10 miles an hour quicker than Jadeja. And it's just a bit like, what's happening? Okay, Ollie Robinson chat done. Who knows?
uh,
But he has got a podcast as well to rival ours, which looks absolutely horrendous. So, maybe ours could be better. We never know.
who's on it?
I'll say, huh?
Who's on it?
His partner. And there's a bit going on there, less I say. Maybe not for this pod, but maybe I'll message you privately. People listening will know. Um, oh, biscuit.
Hmm.
For our audio listeners, Jamie's now got a biscuit. What kind of biscuit?
I mean, it makes for great content when
It does. It
when I'm
does.
eating
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
a
yeah.
soft bakey thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Buzzing. Right. Um, away from Brisket and Robinson chat. What was the other stuff which was no good about this game? Um, I mean, again, I don't think there's as much bad before. I think the stuff that I hated most was the stuff being chatted behind the scenes and stuff, most notably not Michael Vaughan. I don't know if you saw the route we would have done in the highlights, the route dismissal in the second innings, um, where he's given out LBW to Ashwin from around the wicket.
Yes, it's ringing a bell. Yeah, I think I remember.
Yeah. And on the replay, it's very marginal, but it says it's hitting in line. Um, and then he gets three reds. It's originally given not out and then had to be reversed because it's three reds. And then many people, and most notably Michael Vaughan, have a rose to the interwebs to call it, a wrong decision, saying that it should have been umpire's call because they thought from their perspective the ball was outside the line just enough to be umpire's call, which would have meant Root would have been not out. Um, nonsense. Because it was incredibly marginal. And when you look at the pause on the replay, it's the literal middle of the seam is just in line to make it three reds. But to the naked eye, it looks like it could be umpire's call, it could be not out. Um, but God, the noise from this was just it made me just want to stop having our socials. Um, so
And you love
yeah,
our socials.
oh, I love him. I mean, get me on the TikTok. Um, so yeah, it started off by him just saying it was should be not out, it should be umpire's call, blah 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 blah, and then he starts going to conspiracy theory rubbish, like, are interested to know why we haven't had many replays of the root dismissal, even though I've probably seen about six times. And it's out. Um, and then he started another nonsense thing to say that the DRS system needs to have cameras in the truck so we can all see what's going on, as if it's some massive conspiracy theory that the BCCI are being like, oh, we need to make sure that's sitting for this sport. It's just he wasn't the only one. He's the only one I picked out because they're the most annoying comments. But like you watching the highlights, was there anything untoward from you watching, say, that LBW?
I mean, whenever it's bowling from around the wicket to a right-hander
Mhm.
anyway, you're always thinking, is it pitching
Yeah,
in line?
yeah,
That's the main question for my I like you can't even
yeah. Of
question DRS because like you have to just respect the technology and just
course you do.
accept
Yeah,
that it's probably right because
yeah,
it's smarter than you are
yeah,
and has
yeah.
programmed as such. Like it. I don't know. Like a lot of the Bazball mentality has sort of given way to this culture of like distracting from England losing and like the pitfalls of their performance.
Yeah,
Sometimes I think this is just another sort of bit of Bazball propaganda.
yeah. I mean, I would say none of
Or,
there's been no. I
or
don't think there's been any
Michael
comments
Vaughan
from
is
the
just
camp.
a shit pundit, and who would have guessed that he'd have a shit take?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're
Right.
true. I mean, yeah, what a shock. Um, but yeah, yeah. There's also the fact the last game, I mean, England haven't, I don't think have said anything about the root dismissal in this one, so it's just all public opinion nonsense. But you had obviously not Root, Stokes and stuff criticizing the umpire calls of the last game. But then England got so many umpires calls in their favour in this one. So, it's swings and roundabouts, you could say. Um, so I don't really think there's much leg to stand on in terms of let's have a go at DRS. So I just thought it was nonsense noise. I wanted to say it's nonsense noise and Root was out and that's it. Like move on. Um,
Just get over it. If it's a wicket, it's a
exactly.
wicket. Like you can't change the
Yeah.
umpire's mind unless you use a review, and
Yeah.
like unless well, that's the option to change their mind. It doesn't.
Yeah. No, no, I know. Um, but yeah, I mean, in terms of other stuff, I thought Bairstow batted well in this game. He's the other main talking point, of course, but I that first innings especially, I thought he counterpunched really well when the pitch was not good. But at the end of the day, scores of 36 and 30 aren't going to win you a game. Um, McCullum has said he will play in the next game, as would be expected. Um, but I mean, I would add voice probably now to say when it comes to the England summer that it will just be a straight Brook will come in for best. So I
Mhm.
think. Would you think?
I think that makes the most sense. Like
Yeah.
I feel like Brooke. Like I completely forgot that Brooke is a person, but if
Yeah,
he was in this team, it would kind of balance the team out a
I
bit more
think so.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we kind of have to talk about how badly Stokes is batting though. If we were
Yeah, I mean
talking about
that's
Bairstow last episode and his
yeah.
form, like
I
Stokes hasn't
mean I mean I mean
shown
Stokes
much at all, has he?
I would say the Sizzles of Stokes to this game were just the first innings especially that's kind of Hussein in West Indies vibes. I don't think there's anything you can do when it's pitching short and it rolls. I mean that's just what I that's just
Sure.
nothing. But I do there's also been a fact. I mean, I love Stokes and he's such a figurehead of England cricket. But there's just been a sense he's got some very good balls in this series, which is always the way. But there's been the sense that every time he's gone out, it's just sort of like a laugh and being like, "Oh, silly, oh, woe is me," on I go. And it's sort of like when you do that, I get it when it's like a grubber, but like when it's every ball and every time you're getting out, it's like, "Oh, how am I supposed to do that?" It's like, well, you can play some of them, and it's not always like an impossible delivery. And I'd like to just see a bit more kind of head in the game because he's playing as a specialist batter in his team. He's averaging what 20 in this series after 170 in that first game. Um, so I think you're right. I know he needs a score. It's only been two scores over 50 between Root, Bairstow, Stokes, and Folkes in this series. One was the 100 from Root in this game, and then the other was the 70 from um, Stokes in the first game. So that's not going to win you any series if your middle order aren't doing anything. So I think you are right.
And if he's not bowling, then like the place, someone's place has to be questioned for having an extra bowler or all rounder
Mm,
because we've definitely missed that extra bowler pretty much every game.
yeah,
You have to like think, does Brooke then come in for Pope and whoever comes in for Bairstow is bowling a bit as well, or
maybe.
can
Yeah,
Stokes actually be fit?
yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah, it would be nice. No, I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's it's frustrating because he played so well in that first game, I thought. And he has had some really good balls, like the balls from Bumrah especially that have got him have been brilliant. And that ball from Jadeja in that first innings is pretty much unplayable. Um, but it could do with some runs. So yeah, I'd think Bairstow plays his 100th test, and then it's like, thanks, maybe focus on white ball, the World T20, whatever. And I think, it would be, I think it's optimistic to think that a middle order of Root, Bairstow, Stokes, and Folkes would be your Ashes. Not that I think it's about the Ashes, but whether that would be the next big thing for England to play, whether that's still your middle order, I think it's still got to be Brook, and Brook is very much the future of the team, definitely. And you could always look at if Folkes continues to struggle batting wise. He got a very good 47 at first innings, and obviously he struggled in that second innings to try and really do anything with the tail. But he has still got to get runs at some point. The 47s was a good start, but he needs to try and really kick on, because otherwise you'd be like, well, maybe Pope could keep or Duckett could keep.
Or
And
like,
you
why
get an all
not
rounder in that
then
way.
say like Hartley ahead of him in the batting order, or like just because he's a decent bat doesn't mean like we can have the bowlers come in before him if we think that's appropriate to do.
Yeah. I mean, you could a bit of a smash and a dash. I mean, there's also I've seen a couple of bits of chat. I think George DeBell from the Cricketer saying there was a case, I think, in the last few games that Folkes is a kind of more like a root player at his kind of traditional best. So there could be a case to have Folkes in at 5 as the kind of nudger nerdler, rotate the strike, and then Bairstow in at 7 as the kind of finisher, which he plays at, but which may have suited Bairstow a bit more in this series. But I will never know. I just think you had that position in the second innings where Folkes didn't have a get out shot or didn't have any way to score runs other than going at 1 or 2 and over with Bashir. Whilst maybe a more aggressive player might have been able to find the boundaries in that situation. I don't know, but I think Folkes deserves, or has warranted, I'd say, the home summer. I would say, just because he's kept so well and he's saved, as you said last time, he gives you so much as a keeper. But I mean, if he doesn't offer anything with runs going forward, I think modern teams will want a keeper who bats more. And I think there's some people that's like James Rue at Somerset. There's Ollie Robinson now at Durham, the other Ollie Robinson, who are both very good bats and keepers. So we'll see. I mean, yeah, Folkes is great gloveman. But yeah, I think the runs have got to come.
But he's
I would
never
still say.
really had an extended run in the team anyway. He's always been kind of one of those players that's been fucked around a little bit. In the same way I'd say
Many of them.
Mo has been fucked around. Like, you're in the team, you're a gatekeeper. Oh, wait, no.
Yeah,
Butler's in now
because Butler.
because he looks good when he goes well, but
Yeah,
it's a test match. But that's fine. We come back in for a couple of games. Now we want Bairstow in now because he looks good when he plays
yeah,
well. But
yeah,
he's probably not a test match player after having played 100 test matches.
yeah.
I
I
think he
know. Yeah, for
deserves a
sure.
bit of a longer run.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think if he has the home summer, that's these 5 tests and then whatever it is, 8 tests at home. I think that's a good extended run. And see how he goes. It's he always comes across as like he's a subcontinent specialist, and I feel like it's very difficult for a player to just suddenly come in and he expects to bat in the hardest places in the world to bat. Um, but I thought, yeah, his 47 was really vital in that first innings of Root. But it has been a sense that he keeps kind of getting out, trying to turn it to mid wicket, and he keeps getting out in similar ways. I don't know whether he's being slightly found out in that area, but
I
yeah,
mean,
I agree.
maybe the coaching team should be
Oh
helping
yeah,
with that.
you'd hope so if India
Yeah,
worked that out.
like it's very easy to look at a performance and be like, that's a shit shot. He's a terrible player. But like, there's a structure and a setup that should be supporting them.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, you'd
you've
hope
got
so. Yeah,
analysts and like data people and
yeah,
former cricketers that should be telling them, but you should be doing this, or we've noticed that you're doing this a
yeah,
bit too much, or this, you're getting out
yeah.
this way.
Because India have.
I mean, any good team, I
Yeah,
assume, does,
you'd have thought so. Um,
but we just
but
have
yeah,
so that's fun.
but we bad balls. He should have hit it for 6 instead. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, both him and Bear still playing that next game anyway. So yada yada yada. Um, I guess just a vague point to finish off because the next game is kind of a dead rubber if you don't really count the Test Championship, which I rarely do. Um, Just I just hate the test champ. I just hate the fact that something is done from percentage rather than just points because it's just nonsense.
I, I
Um,
I would really like just like a proper tournament for a test match,
yeah,
the same vein as
yeah,
a World Cup. I don't care if it would take the entire year.
yeah, exactly.
It'd be fun, wouldn't it?
I think so. Just because I think it's ridiculous because you just have one team that plays more than others, so their percentage doesn't isn't as much as it's just nonsense. I just hate it. And the fact that England have won three of their games and they have what 21 points, whatever that means, but then they had points docked from the Ashes because of a net run rate. But then Australia didn't have the same thing, but I think they had a similar net run. I don't understand. Imagine trying to explain this to someone who doesn't properly watch cricket to be like, here's this World Test Championship, which is done by percentage, but sometimes a net run rate comes into account. So points are taken from net run rate. Just have points. I just have a I just yeah. Problem is that teams like Sri Lanka and West Indies, South Africa aren't going to play as many games as England, India, and Australia, and then they have to do this
Yeah.
nonsense. But
I mean, if you did do it in a points system, it would encourage teams to play more test matches
yeah, and it'd have to
anyway.
be ICC funded, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Well, it would encourage, I think, New Zealand and South Africa
Hmm.
and like Pakistan, that teams of that quality to
Yeah.
play more because
Yeah.
they would then see that as an actual
Yeah.
proper chance that they could get into the Test Championship.
Yeah.
Whereas, as much as you'd want West Indies or Sri Lanka to take that
Hmm.
seriously, use that as motivation to play more matches, they could easily look at that and be like, we've not really got a chance either
Yeah.
way.
And they don't have the money to
Yeah,
host these games. I mean, could you do a sense that you have a World Cup vibe? This is completely off the rails of what we're talking about, but could you have like three groups potentially, and you have one group in Australia, one group in India, one group in England, because that's where the money is. And you have like maybe three or four teams per group. And I don't know, each team plays itself once over a couple of months. And then there's a final somewhere and it all happens at the same time. So that way it's not going over the course of the year. Just, I just think something better than this.
yeah. Like a World Series kind of thing would be
Yeah,
really fun. And then I don't want to like just limit it to those three countries either, because like
no.
South Africa have some
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
great grounds and
Hmm.
like New Zealand do, like Pakistan do.
Yeah.
It'd be really fun to have like a game in England, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand,
Yeah.
Bangladesh all happening at
I think
once.
it'd be great. I think it'd be amazing. Yeah. And the same way that multiple games happen in the World Cup, that you finish one game in Australia and then you carry on, and then suddenly there's a game in England happening later on.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you have the seasonal changes which would affect things a bit more for England and Australia, for example. But I don't know. I think there could be a way. Um, oh well. Just to finish off, I guess on the England chat, dead rubberish apart from the Test Championship nonsense next game. Um, I guess we're still in February, so it's difficult to tell, and it's not until July the next England game. But would you want to see any other major changes for the summer other than kind of Brook for Bairstow, or would you largely keep it as it is? Would you
Uh,
choose Bashir or Hartley, or would you know, don't know.
I mean, we'd be back in England, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
So
we would. Yeah,
it's one spinner, and
yeah,
even then they might not choose a spinner.
it's true.
So I don't know. It depends. I always think you have like a horses for courses kind of squad, or like save one spot in the team for that kind of player. You see how
Yeah,
the pitch is, you've got an
hmm,
idea, and you can choose from two at the
yeah,
top on instinct or something. So it's hard to judge from that.
yeah,
Um, I would like them to just have a really deep look at the team and squad and like really judge if players like Pope are actually right for the team.
yeah,
Like, is that big 100 he got the other game his norm, or is it anomalous? And are these lower
yeah.
scores what he's what?
Because remember, he could have got caught in that game as well. He could have been caught, and it would have been
Yeah,
a completely different story. It's
because like one big score shouldn't detract from the actual current form of these players. Like Bairstow did play really well this game,
Yeah,
but he hasn't for the most part for a
yeah.
while now. Like this match shouldn't then just be like Besso's just back in the team for good now.
Yes, no, yeah, for sure. I,
And
I, I
it's
would,
been
I
like
really doubt it.
yeah, and it's been like that for ages with England. It's been like one player's got a big score and that's their second chance or fifth chance or whatever.
Yeah.
I just want some introspection and I doubt we'll get that.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be pretty much the same other than Brooklyn for Bairstow, and then the same top seven. Um, I think James Rue, the next kind of keeper off the ranks, I think is he bats three as well. I'm pretty sure for Somerset. I may have made it up in my mind. But he could be another option, and then gives you a bit more kind of flexibility down the order to play an all rounder in that number seven spot.
I mean,
I
you
don't
could
know what all
also,
rounder you
yeah,
would, but
like if he's playing at three as well, you could keep folks in and kind of bed him in
yeah,
as a batsman first, and then sort of ease folks out of the team and ease him into the keeper
yeah,
batter. Oh, I don't know.
yeah. Um, but this management stubbornness, unless Pope is injured, Pope is playing, isn't he? Um, so we'll see. I think that top seven stays the game, and then like you say the same, and then you just horses it, don't you? So Anderson, I think, will play this summer. I'd be surprised if he goes beyond the summer. I think this will be his swan song summer, like Broad had his last year. But he could still try and get to Australia. I don't know. It's impossible to say, but he's only two away from 700 wickets now. Not, I don't think he'll care about milestones, but obviously, I think
You mean
everyone wanted to see him to get that.
he's only 102 away from 800?
Yeah, to his point. So I mean, yeah, Anderson, I think will play most of the summer. Whatever happens with Robinson and his fitness, we'll see. Depends how his podcast does. Um, you've got Wood will be in and around it, won't he? Um,
Wokes
who
will be
knows
back.
if Wokes will be back? Yeah, see if he has another big part in the red ball. If we'll just focus on white ball, that's a big talking point. Matthew Potts, I think, is a really good option. Um, maybe someone like Sam Curran gets another rebirth in Test cricket as that kind of all rounder type. If Stokes isn't going to bat bowl, I don't know. Um, don't know. I just like to see not. I'd not want to go away from. I don't think you need to go wholesale changes after this series because, like we said, England pushed India as best as they could, but I would like to see some little tinkering changes or just some kind of fresh blood
Mhm.
at some point. Just because all these players aren't going to be here forever. And some will be going sooner rather than later. So if someone like Sakib is fit, Bryden Cast, all these kind of bowlers, we'll see. We'll see. It'll all be fun and
Yeah.
daisies.
Imagine if Joffrey's fit. That'll be fun.
Um, I mean, he's trying to get fit for the World T20 or whatever that is vibe is, but he put on his Instagram story to say, "Is anyone free for training?" I thought, well, Wicket Whippets, if you want want to come along and join our team, you're welcome to have a net with us. So I mean, he's bowling in some sense, so maybe he will be back for the World T20. Don't know, but I doubt if we see him in Test cricket again. But imagine.
Yeah, I,
Um,
that's all I can do. I just want to live
yeah,
in my dream world.
just have imagine. But yeah, I think that's it really. Other cricket news. Australia play New Zealand in a test series next week or this week, a week. Um, and Neil Wagner has retired from international cricket after being told that he wouldn't play in this test series, which I think is a shame. I think Neil Wagner's pretty good, to be honest, and he played in the last test for New Zealand. He always gives 100,000% when he bats and bowls, and I think he's so much fun to watch. So he gave quite an emotional press conference today. So I'm quite sad about that. I think it's a shame. Um, but yeah, we'll watch some of it if it's close. Um, Australia already tore New Zealand actually, which is quite strange. I think New Zealand have only lost I think 10 tests I think this century at home. But then have only ever won something like a couple against Australia. So Australia never go there basically. Um, so it could be interesting, but then Australia might be very good. But they did also just lose to West Indies. Um, are you excited for that series?
Let's say I am
Yeah.
for the content.
Well, you'll be thrilled to know that Afghanistan and Ireland are going to be playing together against each other tomorrow at 6 a.m. our time in a test match. Are you excited for that one?
I'm genuinely more excited for that game than
I didn't even know.
Australia, New Zealand. Like
I've just
I want more of these kinds of games
yeah.
where the smaller teams play each other and you don't know what's going on or going to happen and
I
you don't
didn't even know this
know
was
the player.
happening.
Like, yeah,
I just had Quick Info open, being like, "Is there any other news?" And I thought, "I'll only test tomorrow." I mean, cool. I'm excited. I didn't know it's happening, but here we go. It's at the Tolerance Oval. Where is that?
I mean, probably not in Afghanistan.
No,
I'm
oh,
going
it's
to
in Abu
assume.
Dhabi. Yeah, Abu Dhabi. Yeah, of course it
Yeah.
is. Um,
Mm. Abu Dhabi
so
having a stadium named Tolerance is interesting. Just,
yeah, that'd be nice. Cool. Right, that's all from me. But we've not got much. I've not really got any of city points. The only thing that I was going to talk to you about, there's not that many TikTok comments this week, um, as many as last week. But there was one that did chuck me. It'd be a nice way to finish it, I think, if I can find where it is. Um, so it's not been a great couple of weeks for England, I'd say. But what I've quite enjoyed is just the general positivity vibe, especially through our little TikToks and everyone kind of enjoying them and having a little chuckle, whatever. This was until Wade Alex Williames decided just to comment, uh, cricket is cack. Like this from nowhere, just there he is. He loves his football and his God, apparently, from his profile. But um I don't think that's a nice way to sign off for this test review. And this may be this series. Cricket is cack.
it's, I I don't have any response to that.
Wade, you signed off our podcast this week, so thank you so much. If you want to see more comments like that, where can people follow us, Jamie?
Just not CritPod, TikTok, which is apparently a minefield of utter chaos.
Yeah,
Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, podcast places.
all the like, and yeah, we'll maybe be back next week or whenever it is for the final test, depending on how we're feeling. If we want to review the dead rubber, if we're awake, um, we'll be there. We'll see if we can get this out before Ollie Robinson's podcast. But yeah, we'll see you whenever.
Yeah. Good night.
Sleep time.